everyone, and thanks for tuning in. I am Kezia Vida, and I'm here this morning to start what I hope will be a regular situation, which is that on Monday mornings, I'm going to come on here and talk with all of you about dreams that you have sent me. And so if you want me to discuss your dream this morning, then the way you're going to do that is you make a comment and you tag some of your friends and you send me your dream, and I will discuss it, and I'll get more into that at the end as well. But I just want to start with a simple dream that someone commented on my blog, and he sent me something. It's pretty simple. It was in response to my blog post, Dreams About Bugs, which is a pretty popular post I have up there, and I think that's because I have such a deep passion and love for insects in general, and I find them to be extremely powerful symbolically in all different kinds of ways, and I truly think that they're kind of divine beings, and I think that they're really powerful. So I'm just always really happy when someone sends me a dream about bugs. So this one in particular was pretty simple what he sent. And so I'll just read the dream, and then I'll talk about how I would recommend to the dreamer that it's seen. So basically, I dreamed something like big spotting itself in different parts of my body, my laps underneath, just keep pulling them out. So disgusting to me and irritating. So again, pretty simple dream, and this is a pretty simple, not simple, but common experience that I found dreamers to have in relationship to dreams about bugs. And this makes sense because this is also a pretty common experience that we have with bugs in general. I don't know if you've ever opened a box or opened a cabinet or tried to clean out a drawer and a bunch of bugs got found there, and you're just like, ooh, right? It's disgusting. It's a little surprising. It's a little shocking. It doesn't feel good. Another thing that can happen is if you're looking at your body, maybe you're taking a bath and you notice there's a rash or there's something inside, that there's something on your body that you didn't think was going to be there, right? And so it's that same kind of sensation, like, oh my gosh, there's this infestation of bugs and I didn't know it was there. And again, in this dream, this infestation is happening inside of this person's body. So that's a pretty intense experience just right there. And I think one of the invitations that I would make to the dreamer, if you've had this dream, is really to try to get into the embodied experience. When we wake up from a dream like this, that's disturbing, that's irritating, that's disgusting, we often want to try to figure out, what does it mean? How could this relate to my life? Does this mean there's something wrong with me? Just like the person felt inside of, the dream that there was something kind of nasty going on in his body, right? He could very well feel like when he wakes up, oh my gosh, like, what does this mean about me? But we have to remember that our dreams are not automatically wanting us to go into that interpretive, intellectual mode, right? A lot of times our dreams actually just want us to be present with the feeling in our bodies. And that's a very powerful act, actually. We often want to take ourselves out of the embodiment of it because it's uncomfortable and go right into the interpretation of it. Oh, this is about this habit that I have, or this bad thing that I'm doing, or whatever our mind wants to assign it to. And again, I would just really invite the dreamer to go into that feeling of looking at your body and noticing that there's bugs in it and trying to pull them out and feeling disgusted and feeling irritated. Okay? And so that sensation that there's something inside of you that you're disgusted by, that you're irritated with, right? That's what the dream is calling your attention to. That's what the dream means. Can you bring your awareness to that sensation inside of your body? Can you notice when you're looking at yourself, and again, we're looking at ourselves at our own bodies in the dream, this could be a sense of self-reflection when we're taking internal stock of our lives, of things that are going on in our internal selves. Are there ways that you look at yourself and then you find an infestation, something you're disgusted by, something you're irritated by? Okay, so that again would be the question in the dream. Once you get into that embodied feeling, of what it's like to be infested with bugs, can you recognize that internal feeling as something that's going on inside of your body, inside of your life, in an internal sense? So not necessarily in an external material sense, but in an internal sense. Are there things that you look at as if it's an infestation? I hope that's clear. Whew. I don't know if you guys know, but I'm 35 weeks pregnant and I'm kind of out of breath. So I need to talk slower, or I can't talk as fast as I would normally talk. So yeah, that would be the biggest question with the dream. Can you let yourself feel that feeling in your body? And instead of trying to identify what is wrong with you, which is the same thing you're doing in the dream, can you just recognize that that's something that you do? And can you be present with it? And that presence in and of itself is going to open the door to more exploration and more understanding. Because once we realize, wow, I'm really looking at myself in this way as if I'm infested with bugs, as if there's something wrong with me. And, there very well may be things that you want to grow from or heal from. But when we have that attitude of disgust or shame or anger at ourselves or at parts of ourselves that are just trying to cope and survive, that healing isn't going to come. So we need to recognize when we're doing that and try to bring love and compassion to ourselves in that moment and really celebrate our wholeness. So that's the promise of the dream. The next dream I wanted to talk about is pretty intense. So just kind of warning to anybody who's on right now, or if you're watching this later, this is a pretty traumatic dream, I would say. I don't use the word trauma lightly, but I think once you hear the dream, you'll understand why I'm saying that. But I also wanted to bring that up the first time that I'm glad that's helpful for you, Jennifer. It's so nice to have you here. The reason I wanted to bring this trauma dream up is because it is so common. I think that people don't really talk about their dreams enough to recognize that 9 times out of 10, most people who are having dreams and remembering them are remembering very difficult dreams they might even describe as nightmares. So that is not weird. That is not strange. That does not mean there is something particularly wrong with you. Again, this is the material that our dreams really soak us in, for better or for worse, or for whatever reason. I have a lot of ideas about why they do that. But again, the main thing I want to get across is that it's normal and that it's okay, and really trusting, the process with nightmares, something that you can start to try to trust right from the start, is that if your dream is bringing you into contact with this experience, that does mean that there is some aspect of you that is ready to integrate that material on some level or another. I truly, deeply believe that. Our dreams don't bring us to places, bring us to experiences, bring us to feelings that we cannot handle in one way or another. Now, we might feel like we can't, and I totally understand that it's a challenge. And, just like not everybody has to run 3 miles, just because they physically can, you don't have to go into the intensity of your dream just because it's there. But again, just knowing that your dream is not trying to stretch you beyond your limit. It is pushing you. It's pushing your boundaries for sure, but it's not going to bring you over the edge in and of itself. So I just want you to see what it's like to kind of sit in that type of trust and see if that helps when difficult dreams come, so that you can start to build your capacity. Because I know people sometimes, really find themselves very disturbed and almost feeling victimized by their dreams. Like, why is my dream coming to me in this way? It must want to hurt me or harm me. And just really developing that trust. Actually, it's bringing into contact with this. It's trying to challenge me for sure, because it wants me to grow, and it knows that I have the capacity to heal. So this dream was shared to me on the blog as well, and I'll just read it, and then I'll speak a little bit about how we can start to work with something that's disturbing like this. So I saw an evil power, a man with long black hair, long rugged clothes. His face looked evil. He was holding a baby boy, an infant, in his lap, and he was hurting him by inserting pins into him and scratching his skin to the extent of bleeding. The infant was crying and screaming for help from me, but I couldn't do anything. The evil man was laughing and looking at me while hurting the kid, as if he was trying to show me that he can hurt the child while I'm just helpless. Okay, So like I said, and if you're just joining in, this is a pretty disturbing dream. It's definitely a challenging one. If you're not in the mood this morning, I totally understand. But I just wanted to speak to it again because dreams like this are very common, and I just want to begin that process of normalizing challenging dreams. So, in this dream, basically the dreamer is watching the baby boy, the infant, be hurt, really physically hurt. And, as someone who works with dreams, there's a lot of different ways that we can start to enter into a dream like this. And there'd be a ton of questions that I would ask. But first of all, if you are just having a dream like this on your own and you're not necessarily working with someone else, I would do whatever I could to ground myself in a sense of support inside of myself. So before we enter into dreams like this, just like I was saying, you don't have to run 3 miles, but if you're going to, make sure you have the right shoes on and make sure you're stretching and make sure you're hydrated. Well, same thing here. I wouldn't just dive into all the feelings of this dream. I would try to ground myself first in a sense of support and love. Where is it in your body where you can feel at home? Are there images in your mind that can help you connect to that sense that you're supported and loved? Can you bring yourself back into that sense very viscerally in your body? I would do that first before I would start looking at the feelings inside of this dream. But the thing that's, I think, important to think about when we're looking at dreams like this is to really try to identify where the dreamer is at. Okay, because obviously, I think a lot of people have heard kind of the trope, like, you are everyone in your dream. And I could talk a lot about that concept, and in some way it's true. The sense in which it's true is that I think the dreamer probably in this dream has a pretty good idea of what they're feeling, of what the baby is feeling, and what the evil man is feeling in this dream. So in that sense, they are connected to all of the pieces. But the dreamer is where the dreamer is at. And it seems pretty clear to me that one of the most visceral, strongest feelings right off the bat of a dream like this is the sense that they cannot do anything. Okay, because the baby's crying, he sees the baby getting hurt, but I couldn't do anything. And he feels like the evil man is showing him that he can't do anything. So this sense of helplessness, this sense of not being able to protect the things that you love, not being able to stop the baby from being harmed, that would be where I would really put my focus on for this dreamer, to start to open up what the meaning, or basically the belief that grew upon the trauma. Because again, if we're seeing a baby being tortured and the baby screaming and really being hurt, it's clear to me that some kind of traumatic thing has happened to this dreamer. I have no idea whether, it could really run the gamut from he was tortured as a baby to who knows, like it could literally be anything. And this could just be a symbolic representation of what happened to the inner child of this dreamer, right? That really innocent part that was hurt. That was obviously really hurt by a force. And then what we see in the adult dreamer, and as they're witnessing the trauma, is this idea, I couldn't do anything about it. I couldn't do anything about it. So this is starting to open up this belief. And the first thing that I would ask is, why did he feel that way in the dream? What was it like to feel that? What was it like to feel that way, and why did he feel that way? What were the circumstances? And he doesn't really, I don't know if it's a person, a man or a woman, or however they identify. But what the dreamer doesn't say is why they feel like they can't do anything. And so I would really be very curious about that. That could really give us clues again about how this belief was formed. But that's basically what I would take from this dream. It's not really a matter of like, oh, you're having a dream like this, like all your trauma is going to be healed or anything like that. Dreams work very meticulously, very slowly, layer by layer, image by image, to help us unravel, the idea of the onion, and get to a deeper place inside of ourselves to understand how we come to be the way that we are. So it's very complex. And so this very first layer, where he has this belief, I couldn't do anything, and that the evil man wants to show him that he cannot do anything, I would bet that belief, that sense of helplessness, is something that is, running his life in one way or another, running this dreamer's whole, scenario. And so it's pretty important, I would think, that the dreamer comes to recognize that this belief came out of a trauma. And then again, because he's not really telling me anything about where that idea comes from, or that she's not telling me anything about where that idea comes from, I would have the sense that it's in some way not true. Okay? And of course, maybe as a baby or a child or whenever this trauma happened, the dreamer felt like they couldn't do anything. But now, as an adult, they can. And this is really the gem of the dream, potentially, and we didn't get to investigate enough. The dreamer's not there. But if there is nothing in the dream physically holding the dreamer back from doing something about this torture, beyond their fear, it is maybe potentially an opening or an opportunity for them to see, okay, maybe back then when the trauma happened, there was nothing you could do, but now there is. But again, that's all kind of hypothetical, and I don't want to, go too deep into this dreamer's psyche, because it's such a sensitive place, and I hate to act like I know. I think what's most important is we get the dreamer to understand that feeling of I couldn't do anything, and try to recognize and bring awareness to when that feeling comes up in their day-to-day life, and that can start the investigation as we open it up. Because again, I think this is the belief that was formed when the trauma happened. So that is the first episode of what I hope will be a weekly thing. I have no idea how this baby is going to change my life, but I do know I really want to stay in connection with you. So if you want me to talk about your dream next time, tag your friends, 2 friends in the comments, DM me your dream, and when I get back on here next week, your dream will be the next one I talk about. Another great way of doing it, if you really want to support, is to subscribe to my YouTube channel, and you can send it as a comment there, or DM me, let me know that you did it, and all that stuff. Reach out, and I would love to talk about your dream next week, next Monday morning, when I'll be on here next. It's been so cool to see everybody who's been tuning in so far, and I can't wait to see who comes in next time. And this is really fun. I hope you guys all are doing awesome, and I'll talk to you later.